बस इंट्रोडक्शन देके और तब करना। कुछ बोल रहे हो कि नहीं बोल रहे हो?
म्यूट है माइक रिया।
हेलो रिया, कुछ बोल रही हो तुम? वॉइस नहीं आ रहा है कुछ भी। दूसरे किसी को सुनाई दे रहा है इसका आवाज?
नहीं सर।
नहीं सर।
नहीं सर, नहीं सुनाई दे रहा है।
उसको देखो रिया, थोड़ा सा ऑडियो सिस्टम को देखो।
हेलो।
यस, नाउ यू आर ऑडिबल। करो।
सर आवाज आ रही है?
है, अब आ रही है। करो स्टार्ट। यस।
ओके।
बैकग्राउंड का साउंड वो करो थोड़ा सा। कुछ आ रहा है आपका, कुछ वाइट का या किसी चीज का आ रहा है साउंड।
हुआ सर ऑफ हुआ? ऑफ हुआ सर?
अभी भी कुछ जैसे लग रहा है कि कुछ बीच बीच में। अभी बोलो बोलो, अभी करो कंटिन्यू।
हेलो।
हाँ ठीक है। नहीं, अभी भी कुछ आ रहा है बीच में आवाज, लेकिन करो, कंटिन्यू करो।
Okay sir. So very warm welcome to all after vacation. My name is Riya Rai and today we are going to talk about the topic chemical coordination and integration. In this mainly we are going to cover the topics like hormones, what are hormones, then mechanisms of hormone action, different type of glands, endocrine gland which are secreting different hormones, and what are the disorders that are going to occur due to hyposecretion or hypersecretion of the hormones. So let us start. The neural system and the endocrine system jointly coordinate and regulate the physiological functions in the body. As we all know that the neural system, that is the nervous system, including the brain, the spinal cord, and the endocrine system, which are mainly responsible for the secretion of the different hormones, they jointly coordinate and regulate different physiological functions in the body. The neural coordination is generally fast and it is very exact and short-lived, while the chemical coordination is very slow, but it is a widespread and long-lasting effect. All the cells of our body are not intervened by nerve fibers, but the cellular function need to be continuously regulated. So, a special kind of coordination and integration has to be provided. This function is carried out by the endocrine system. The branch of biology which deals with the study of endocrine system and its physiology is known as endocrinology. The father of endocrinology is the Thomas Edison. Now, what are the endocrine glands? Endocrine glands are those glands in which their secretion are poured directly into the blood, that is, they do not have any type of duct, thus they are known as the ductless gland. gland with duct is called as the exocrine gland, which secretes the enzymes. Different type of enzymes are secreted by the exocrine gland, while the endocrine glands are mainly responsible for the secretion of the hormones. Hormone is actually a Greek word which means to excite. The endocrine system can be of two types, that is the organized endocrine system and the non-organized endocrine system, including different type of glands. In organized endocrine system, the glands like pituitary, pineal, thyroid, adrenal, pancreas, parathyroid, thymus, and gonads are included. In this, the hormones producing cells are present in clusters or tissue form, while in the non-organized endocrine gland, the tissues or the cells are present in the scattered form. For example, gastrointestinal tract, liver, kidney, and heart. Now, the hormone term was coined by Starling. Hormone means the primary messenger or the chemical messenger. They are the non-nutrient chemicals which act intercellularly, and they are produced in a very trace amount, but they are very active, thus even their trace amount are having a great function. The very first hormone which was discovered was secretin, and it was discovered by Bayliss and Starling in 1902. Hormones are secreted by one part of the body, that is one gland, and through bloodstream they reach to the another part or another organ of the body, that is their target site, through blood. These are the different hormones, their nature, and the gland which secrete them. Generally, the hormones are divided into three categories on the basis of their derivation. The first is the proteinaceous hormone. Next is the steroid hormone or fatty acid derived hormone. Proteinaceous hormone is further divided in amino acid derivatives, short peptides, long peptides, and glycoproteins. The amino acid derived hormone are thyroxine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine. We can remember this as a code word 10, TEN. T for thyroxine, E for epinephrine, and N for norepinephrine. Then comes the short peptides, that is vasopressin, oxytocin, MSH, and glucagon. This we can remember as MOVG, MOVG, MSH, oxytocin, vasopressin, and glucagon. Next is the long peptide hormone. They are the parathyroid hormone, insulin, thyrocalcitonin, and ACTH. This we can remember is as a PITA, 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 that is parathyroid hormone, I for insulin, T for thyrocalcitonin, and A for ACTH, that is adrenocorticotropic hormone. Next is the glycoproteins. They are TSH, that is thyroid stimulating hormone, FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormone, and LH, that is luteinizing hormone. Next hormones are the steroidal hormones. Steroidal hormones are mineralocorticoid, glucocorticoid, testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. This we can remember is as Mahatma Gandhi top position पर है. That is Mahatma for mineralocorticoid, Gandhi for glucocorticoid, top for testosterone, position, progesterone, and estrogen we can include in between. And the last is the fatty acid derived hormone. This includes the prostaglandins, and they are the local hormones. Another local hormones like serotonin are also included as the fatty acid derivatives. Now we are going to look about the physical and the chemical natures of the hormones. Generally, the hormones are smaller in size and they are having the lower molecular weight. Mostly, the hormones are divided into two categories on the basis of their solubility. That is, they can be water soluble or fat soluble. Sir? Hello?
हाँ बताओ. Yes.
सर ये बीच में कोई कंट्रोल कर रहा है क्या?
नहीं.
मेरी स्लाइड्स भी चेंज हो जा रही है और अभी बीच में यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ भी आ रहा था कुछ पेन से.
नहीं, ऐसा कहा. हम लोग को तो नहीं कुछ दिख रहा है लिखा हुआ आपका.
ग्लिच होगा.
यहाँ से
क्या लिखा हुआ आ रहा था?
क्या?
पेन से सर. पेन होता है ना सर इसमें.
आ रहा था क्या मोहित?
नहीं सर, यहाँ अपने को तो कुछ नहीं दिख रहा था, उसको पूछ रहा
हाँ।
हूँ क्योंकि यहाँ तो
और
कुछ नहीं दिख
स्लाइड्स
रहा
भी चेंज हो रही है खुद ही।
नहीं 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 नहीं, लिखा हुआ तो हम लोग को नहीं दिख रहा रिया।
सर स्लाइड्स चेंज हो रही थी।
रेड
पता नहीं।
कलर से वो लाइन थी पहले, येलो और
रेड
रेड
और
में
येलो
लिखा हुआ था,
हाँ,
फिर वो इरेज हो गया।
ओके।
स्लाइड्स भी खुद ही चेंज हो रही है।
नहीं 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 नहीं, यहाँ से तो अभी तो नहीं लग रहा मुझे कुछ कंट्रोल हो रहा है। करो ना, करो, देख, है ना।
Okay,
तो
so the hormones are generally smaller in size and they are of lower molecular weight. There can be hormones of two types, that is the water soluble and fat soluble, and they are secreted in very small quantity because they are very reactive substances, and after they are used they are destroyed. As we cannot store hormone, the only exception is the thyroxine hormone, which is stored. Liver and kidney separate hormones from the blood and decompose them. The product formed after decomposition is excreted with the urine, and the hormones are generally non-allergic, that is, they do not carry out any allergic reactions, and they are non-species specific. Now comes the mechanism of hormonal reactions. On the basis of the types of hormone, that is, water-soluble hormone and lipid-soluble hormones, the mechanism of their working changes. Like the hormones reach to the target site because of the specific hormone receptors present at the target organ. And these target receptors are present on the target cells on which our hormone binds and produces specific type of effect. Hormone receptors can be of two types, but they are of three types also. That is the membrane-bound receptors, intracellular receptors, and nuclear receptors. Membrane-bound receptors are those receptors which are present on the membrane. Intracellular receptors are present intracellularly, that is in the cytoplasm, and nuclear receptors are present in the nucleus. Some of the examples of membrane-bound receptors are ion channel link receptor, G protein couple receptor, and enzyme link receptors. Water-soluble hormones. Water-soluble hormones are those hormones which generally are having their receptors on the plasma membrane. They cannot enter the cells because the plasma membrane is made up of lipid bilayer, thus it repels the water-soluble hormones. Here we can see that an example of FSH hormone, that is the follicle stimulating hormone, is given. One of the main factors of water-soluble hormones and their working mechanism is the generation of the secondary messengers. Secondary messengers like cyclic AMP, then inorganic phosphate or calcium. Let us see how they work. At first, the water-soluble hormones, they diffuses from the blood through the interstitial fluid. Then the receptor is present on the plasma membrane on which our hormone binds. A target cell is having specific type of receptors as we have discussed in the previous slide. This hormone receptor complex activates a membrane protein, that is G protein. G protein is guanine nucleotide binding protein. This G protein is activated when the hormone binds to the receptor. Now, this activated G protein activates adenylate cyclase. Adenylate cyclase is an enzyme. This adenylate cyclase enzyme converts the ATP into cyclic AMP, that is the generation of our secondary messenger. Cyclic AMP is generated. Now this cyclic AMP will further carry out the activation of one or more protein kinases. Protein kinases are the enzymes that phosphorylate other cellular proteins, and this phosphorylation occurs with the help of ATP. The ATP donates its phosphate to another proteins, another cellular proteins, and through this, the protein kinase carry out phosphorylation of other proteins. Now, this is the biochemical response. After that, it generates different type of physiological responses, and once the whole procedure has occurred, the phosphodiesterase enzyme inactivates the CAMP, that is cyclic AMP, until another hormone will come and bind to the receptors. Like this mechanism is stopped. Next is the lipid-soluble hormone. Lipid-soluble hormones interact with the intracellular receptors, means the receptors through which this lipid-soluble hormone will bind is generally present inside the cell or inside the cytoplasm, and they mostly regulate the gene expression or chromosome function by interaction of hormone receptor complex with genome. Let us see how this works. The very first thing is that just like the water-soluble hormone, the lipid-soluble hormone will also come through the bloodstream to the target cell, and there it will bind to the receptor. After binding to the receptor, let me first see the main thing in this receptor. This receptor is having two binding sites. One binding site is for the binding of the DNA, and another binding site is for the binding of our lipid-soluble hormone. The DNA binding is generally responsible for further transcription of our DNA protein, a DNA through which a particular protein will be formed, and that protein will be the main which will function. Now, when the DNA is bind to the receptor, but if the hormone is not binded to the another receptor of another binding site of the receptor, then that DNA and receptor will not work until the hormone will bind to it. When that receptor will have both DNA and hormone, then only it will be activated, and after that they will carry out the formation of the mRNA, and that mRNA will travel from nucleus to the cytoplasm, where the mRNA will get translated into protein, and that particular protein will ultimately mediate the response. The action of lipid-soluble hormone is slower and lasts longer than the action of water-soluble hormones. Lipid-soluble hormones generally include the steroidal hormone, as we have seen, like mineralocorticoid, glucocorticoid, testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone. Here are some key points, like diabetogenic. Diabetogenic hormones are those which stimulate the carbohydrate metabolism. That is, they increase the blood glucose level. Ketogenic are those hormones which mainly affect the metabolism. Calorogenic, which affects the basal metabolic rate. Trophic hormone are those hormones which promotes the growth of the target tissues. Like all the 6 hormones produced by the pars distalis, we will discuss it in the further slides. Then comes the calones or tropic hormone. This tropic hormone are those hormones which act on other endocrine gland, like thyroid stimulating hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone, luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, releasing and inhibiting hormones of hypothalamus. Here are some questions. So let us check whether we are paying attention over here or not. So the very first question is, the following are the example of organized gland except.
बोलो भाई.
Shall I go to the previous slides?
बता दो आंसर ही बता दो सब.
So the answer is kidney. That is not included in the organized gland. Next is the hormone which do not bind with the membrane bounded receptor. That is progesterone, because it is a lipid soluble hormone. Here comes the pituitary gland.
एक्सप्लेनेशन वो गोविंदराज पूछ रहा है व्हाई. पहला क्वेश्चन का व्हाई.
सर इसमें मैंने बताया था कि जो ऑर्गेनाइज्ड ग्लैंड्स होते हैं, ऑर्गेनाइज्ड ग्लैंड में जो हार्मोन्स होते हैं वो सिक्रीट होते हैं क्लस्टर ऑफ सेल्स या टिश्यूज से। बहुत सारे ग्लैंड्स होते हैं, वो ऑर्गेनाइज्ड होते हैं, उसके बाद हार्मोन का सिक्रीशन होता है। मैंने आगे डिस्कस भी किया था सर। एक मिनट सर।
3 स्लाइड पीछे दिखा था शायद।
हाँ एक मिनट। यस, इधर 4th पॉइंट है ऑर्गेनाइज्ड एंडोक्राइन ग्लैंड्स। किडनीज एंड नॉन ऑर्गेनाइज्ड एंडोक्राइन ग्लैंड। सर कंटिन्यू करो।
हाँ करो। तो किडनी इंडोक्राइन ग्लैंड है,
सर नॉन ऑर्गेनाइज्ड में आता है।
बट दिस इज नॉट इंडोक्राइन ग्लैंड।
हाँ सर,
But
एक्सोक्राइन में आता है, पर हार्मोन सिक्रेट करता है वो सर।
नो 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 नो, किडनी के ऊपर जो ग्लैंड होता है वो हार्मोन सिक्रीट करता है, किडनी तो नहीं
हाँ
करता।
सर, वो भी
Adrenal gland
करता है,
तो
एड्रेनल करता
gland तो
है और
करता ही है।
किडनी भी करता
वन
है।
बाय वन बाय वन।
इरिथ्रोपोइटिन ग्लैंड सिक्रेट
सर,
करता है।
आगे
इरिथ्रोपोइटिन
डिस्कस
हार्मोन।
करूंगी सर।
ओके,
हाँ सर, आगे इंक्लूडेड है।
ठीक है।
So this is the pituitary gland. As we can see that the pituitary gland is connected to the hypothalamus with the help of the infundibulum, and it is generally divided into 2 parts, that is the anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary, and it is ectodermal in origin and situated in the sella turcica of the sphenoid bone. Sella turcica is the depression in the sphenoid bone in which our pituitary gland is situated, and hypothalamus and pituitary are connected through a stalk which is known as the infundibulum. As I had said earlier too, that the pituitary is divided into 2 parts, that is the anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary is also known as the adenohypophysis, and posterior pituitary is also known as the neurohypophysis. The lower end of the infundibulum, let us see the diagram again. This, the lower end of the infundibulum is bulging type. Here we can see the bulging is present, which is called as the posterior lobe or pars nervosa. This posterior pituitary is known as the pars nervosa, and the infundibulum and the pars nervosa, they both collectively known as the neurohypophysis, and anterior pituitary, that is adenohypophysis, and another is the pars intermedia or middle lobe. They both together are known as the adenohypophysis. You can see infundibulum and pars nervosa, they form the neurohypophysis, and pars distalis and pars intermedia, that is anterior lobe and middle lobe, they form the adenohypophysis. Hypophyseal portal vein collects the blood from hypothalamus and supplies it to the anterior pituitary. Now, hypophyseal portal system that allows the communication between the 2 structures by the means of hormone. Here, the 2 structures are the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary. They both are connected through hypophyseal portal system. Hormones secreted by adenohypophysis. They are somatotroph, lectotroph, thyrotroph, gonadotroph, and corticotroph. First, we will talk about the growth hormone, GH, or somatotrophin, that is STH. Their major functions are on growth and on metabolism. Just like effect on growth, they help in elongation of the bone, and in soft tissues, they carry out or they promote the mitosis, which help in increase in the number of cells, and they also stimulate the growth of muscles and cartilages. Next is the effect on metabolism. In metabolism on fat, it generally increases the lipolysis. Lipolysis is the process of hydrolysis of the lipid triglyceride into glycerol and 3 molecules of fatty acid. That is, एक लिपिड ट्राइग्लिसराइड के मॉलिक्यूल को ग्लिसरॉल एंड 3 फैटी एसिड के मॉलिक्यूल में कन्वर्ट करने की प्रोसेस को लाइपोलाइसिस बोलते हैं. अंडर द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ ग्रोथ हार्मोन, फैट इज यूज्ड फॉर एनर्जी इन प्रेफरेंस टू कार्बोहाइड्रेट एंड प्रोटीन. प्रोटीन और कार्बोहाइड्रेट अगर दो चीजें प्रेजेंट होगी, तो अगर जीएच होगा या ग्रोथ हार्मोन प्रेजेंट होगा, तो फैट को हम लोग प्रेफरेंस देंगे एज एनर्जी सोर्स एज कंपेयर टू कार्बोहाइड्रेट एंड प्रोटीन. Then comes the effect of metabolism on carbohydrate. The growth hormone decreases the uptake of glucose in the cell. That is a diabetogenic hormone. As we have discussed earlier this term also, that diabetogenic means increase in the level of blood sugar. That means the decrease in the level of blood sugar in cells. Then comes the proteins. GH increases the amino acid uptake by the cells of liver and muscles and help in protein synthesis. Now comes the diseases which are caused by the hyposecretion or hypersecretion of somatotropin hormone or growth hormone. If hyposecretion of STH or somatotropin hormone will occur, then the dwarfism will be caused. Dwarfism is caused mainly when the STH is secreted in smaller amount at the time of childhood or adolescence age. Dwarfism due to defect of pituitary is known as ateliosis. As we have seen the clowns in the circus, they are dwarf and they are known as the midgets. Midgets, they are normally physically and mentally normal, but their sexual maturation is delayed. Now we will talk about the hypersecretion of STH. When the hypersecretion of STH occurs in the childhood, then the bones of the legs and hands, they become very long, and due to this the body become imbalanced, and this is known as the gigantism. Excessive secretion of the growth hormone in adult, especially in the middle age, can result into severe disfigurement like excess enlargement of the bone of the face, vertebral column and forelimb, and this condition is known as acromegaly, which may lead to serious complications and premature death if unchecked. So these are the two disorders which occurs due to hypersecretion of somatotropin or growth hormone. Next is the thyrotrophic hormone, that is also known as a TTH or thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyrotrophic hormone or thyroid stimulating hormone, it stimulates the secretion of the thyroid gland to secrete the thyroxine. Thyroxine is the hormone of thyroid gland, and it helps in all the steps of thyroid hormone synthesis, and it causes the growth of the thyroid gland. Secretion of TSH is stimulated by thyrotropin releasing factors and inhibited by somatostatin of hypothalamus. That is, the TSH and somatostatin, these both are working antagonist to each other. One is stimulating the production of the thyrotropin while another is suppressing it. Next is adrenocorticotropic hormone or corticotropin, that is ACTH. This accelerates the cortex part of the adrenal gland to secrete hormone. The adrenal gland is divided into two parts, that is the adrenal cortex and the adrenal medulla. Out of this, the cortex is secreting the glucocorticoid hormone and its secretion is accelerated through ACTH. Next is the follicle stimulating hormone or FSH, that is secreted in both male and female. In male, it stimulates the spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis is the process by which the spermatozoa develops from germ cells in seminiferous tubules, which is the part of testis. And in females, it stimulates oogenesis and development of Graafian follicle in ovary. Oogenesis is the process of differentiation of the ovum, and this is also known as the gametokinetic factor. Estrogen hormone secreted by Graafian follicle is also affected by FSH. Graafian follicle is the part of ovary in females, and it helps in the production of the estrogen hormone, and this is generally stimulated or affected by follicle stimulating hormone. luteinizing hormone, LH, or interstitial cell stimulating hormone. This stimulates the ovulation in the females, and due to ovulation, corpus luteum is formed. And this corpus luteum is responsible for the secretion or production of the progesterone hormone. In men, the luteinizing hormone or interstitial cell stimulating hormones, it affect the Leydig cells and stimulates or increase the production of testosterone. Then luteinizing hormone is also known as the gamete releasing factor. Both FSH and LH are known as gonadotropic hormone. FSH and LH act in the combined form, thus they are known as the synergistic hormone. Gonadotropin hormone secretion starts during the puberty. Their secretion is regulated by hypothalamus. Lutotrophic or prolactin or lactogenic or mammotropin hormone. What is the lactation or galactopoiesis? Galactopoiesis or lactation is the process in which the prolactin is converted into lactin, and this generally occurs after the delivery in women. And this prolactin secretion is generally regulated by this hormone, that is the lactotrophin or mammotropin hormone. Hypothalamus mainly stimulates the production of all the pituitary hormone, but it mainly inhibits the prolactin production because normally hypothalamus prolactin inhibitory hormone is greater than the releasing hormone. That is, here also we can see that they are working antagonistically. Breast is prepared for lactation by estrogen and progesterone, but both of these hormones inhibit the actual secretion of the milk. Dopamine is a catecholamine. Catecholamine is a type of active amine which help in responding to the stress condition like fear, in which it helps to prepare the body to flight or to take our body out of that particular situation. That is the main role of the catecholamine. Dopamine is a type of catecholamine, and neurotransmitters in the hypothalamus, they also inhibits the lactation. After expulsion of placenta at the parturition, that is after removal of the placenta, there is an abrupt decline in the circulating estrogen and progesterone. As discussed in the third point, that the estrogen and progesterone, they inhibit the secretion of milk. Then this estrogen and progesterone level gradually decreases, and due to this, significant increase in the level of prolactin occurs to activate the production of milk. Nursing stimulates the prolactin secretion. This lactotrophin hormone inhibits the action of GnRH on the that is the gonadotropin releasing hormone on the pituitary, and suppresses the release of gonadotropin from the pituitary. And due to the suppression of the release of the gonadotropin, it works as a natural birth control method, because due to this, the ovulation is inhibited and the ovaries get inactive. And if the ovary will get inactive, the egg will not be produced. And due to that, the birth will not occur. Thus, this works as a natural birth control method. Melanocyte stimulating hormone, it is secreted by the middle lobe, but in humans, the pars intermedia and pars distalis both are almost merged. Thus, this is secreted. We are taking this part in neurohypophysis. In men, the MSH is secreted by the anterior lobe, and this MSH, that is melanocyte stimulating hormone, is also known as the intermedian. It stimulates the melanocyte to synthesize melanin in mammals. Melanin is a type of pigment which generally is responsible for the production or for giving the skin color. MSH is produced in all vertebrates, but it is more effective in lower vertebrates. Lower vertebrates like the fishes and the amphibians, this hormone is related to the metachrosis phenomenon. Metachrosis is the changing of color, as we have seen in the amphibians and reptiles. It darkens the complexion of the skin by distributing the melanin pigment evenly under the skin. And Against this, that is opposite to this, is the melatonin, which is secreted by the pineal gland, and it collects the melanin pigment at one place, thus fairing the complexion. Now comes the posterior lobe or neurohypophysis. It is almost 1/4 part of the pituitary gland. The terminal end of the axon of neurosecretory cells of hypothalamus are swollen, and this swollen part is also known as the herring bodies, and hormones of the neurohypophysis or posterior lobe of pituitary is secreted by these herring bodies, and special type of cells are present that are large and branched fatty neuroglial cells, and these cells are known as the pituocytes. Posterior pituitary hormones are generally secreted by the supraoptic nucleus and paraventricular nucleus. The supraoptic nucleus is responsible for the secretion of the oxytocin or pitocin, and the paraventricular nucleus is responsible for the secretion of ADH or vasopressin. These are the two hormones which are secreted by the posterior lobe of pituitary or neurohypophysis. ADH or vasopressin. This act mainly on the kidney. It mainly helps in the reabsorption of the waters as well as the electrolytes in the distal convoluted tubule of the nephron and collecting duct, and thereby reducing the loss of the water through the urine. Thus, through this, maximum water can be absorbed or reabsorbed, and this phenomena is known as the diuresis. Thus, this hormone is known as anti-diuretic hormone. That is, it stops or it checks the loss of the water. What happens when the hyposecretion of the ADH occurs? It mainly causes the diabetes insipidus. This is also known as the tasteless urine or drinker's disease, which is characterized by polyuria, diluted urine, dehydration, excessive thirst or polydipsia, and low blood pressure. Polyuria is a term used when the amount of urea secreted through the urine increases. Then diluted urine is due to the reabsorption of the water is reduced due to reduction in the production of ADH hormone, and due to this the urine which is excreted out of the body is in very dilute form. Then dehydration due to excessive loss of the water, and excessive thirst, that is polydipsia. Intake of coffee, tea, and excess alcohol decreases the secretion of antidiuretic hormone. Secretion of ADH is maximum in desert fauna. Why so? Because in desert area, generally the temperature is very high, which may lead to the evaporation of water from the body surface, and this should be checked. Thus, ADH is secreted more as the loss of the water is not bearable over there. Thus, ADH is secreted in higher amount, due to which most of the water is reabsorbed, and this occurs in the animals like camel, kangaroo, and rat. Hypersecretion of hormone ADH leads to the dilution of the blood and increased concentration of the urine. That is, the reabsorption of water occurs maximum, due to which the blood becomes dilute and the urine becomes concentrated, and due to this, the blood pressure increases. Oxytocin or pitocin. It is the main parturition hormone that helps at the time of the delivery. Then it stimulates the fast or the rapid contraction and expansion of the non-striated muscles of the uterine wall. Uterine wall, or the muscles which are situated surrounding the uterus, the oxytocin stimulates the fast or rapid contraction and expansion of that muscles at the last moment of gestation period of pregnancy, and due to this uterine contraction, labor pain starts just before the childbirth. And this hormone oxytocin is secreted by the pituitary gland of the mother at the time of parturition. It also initiates the contraction of the uterine wall muscles during copulation or coitus, and this contraction helps in the sweeping of the men's semen into the fallopian tube of the woman. Oxytocin hormone contracts the myoepithelial cells. These myoepithelial cells are present surrounding the alveoli of a mammary gland, and it helps in the milk ejection that after parturition. In female, this hormone is related to the emotion, that is whenever a child cry or whenever the mother hears the sound of the baby, then the release of this hormone occurs in the lactating mother, due to which the milk is released from the mammary gland, and the injection of oxytocin are given to the cows and the buffaloes for increasing the amount of milk. Here is the diagram of the mammary gland and the uterus. As we can see, the myoepithelial cells which are present surrounding the alveoli, and these myoepithelial cells are generally responsible for the production of pitocin hormone, or which help in the secretion of the milk after parturition. And we can see in the uterus different type of walls are present, that is a myometrium, perimetrium, and endometrium, and the contraction of these uterine walls occurs due to the oxytocin hormone at the end of the parturition period or at the time of the delivery, due to which the contraction and relaxation of these muscles occurs and the baby can easily come out. Now comes the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is present at the basal part of the diencephalon, that is present in the brain, basal part of the diencephalon for brain, and it regulates a wide spectrum of body functions. And the hormones which are secreted by the hypothalamus, they regulates the secretion of the hormones which are situated in pituitary gland. The hypothalamus generally secretes the two type of hormone, that is the releasing hormone or inhibiting hormone. Releasing hormones stimulates the secretion of the pituitary hormone, and inhibiting hormone inhibit the secretion of the pituitary hormone. Just for an example, gonadotropin releasing hormone, that is the GnRH, it stimulates the pituitary synthesis and release of gonadotropin, while antagonist or opposite to it, somatostatin, it inhibits the release of hormone.
कुछ बैकग्राउंड साउंड आ रहा है, पता नहीं.
हाँ सर, नमाज हो रही है.
ओके ओके ओके, रूम बंद कर लो.
हाँ सर, एक्चुअली सर सामने ही मस्जिद है ना, घर के टाइम हो गया. सर वो आवाज तो थोड़ी आएगी, बंद करेंगे कितना भी वो नहीं हो सकता. Hormones originating in hypothalamic neuron pass through the axon and are released from the nerve ending. These hormones reach the pituitary gland through a portal circulatory system and regulate the function of anterior pituitary. Portal circulatory system is a type of circulatory system in which the blood draining from capillary bed of one structure flows through the larger vessel to supply the capillary bed of the another structure before returning to the heart. Means कि पोर्टल सर्कुलेटरी सिस्टम एक ऐसे टाइप का सर्कुलेटरी सिस्टम है जिसमें ब्लड डायरेक्टली हार्ट के पास जाने की बजाय डिफरेंट ऑर्गन से या डिफरेंट स्ट्रक्चर से पास होके देन इट गोज टू द हार्ट. The same occurs between the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary for exchange or for release of the hormones. The posterior pituitary is under the direct neural regulation of the hypothalamus. Here are some key points, that is the synergistic hormone and antagonistic hormone. Synergistic hormone are those hormones in which one hormone complements the function of the another hormone. For example, the insulin and growth hormone, they are synergistic to each other. Then estrogen, progesterone, prolactin, and oxytocin, they all are synergistic effect, are having the synergistic effect for the physical growth of the mammary gland. Antagonistic hormone are those hormones which works opposite to each other. For example, insulin and glucagon. Insulin decreases the blood glucose level while the glucagon increases the blood glucose level. Then calcitonin and the parathyroid hormone. Then MSH and melatonin. That is melanocyte stimulating hormone and melatonin. As we have already discussed earlier, thyroid gland. It is the largest endocrine gland and it is situated in the lateroventral side of the trachea or larynx in the neck region. It is generally bilobed in birds and mammals, while single lobes in reptile. And it is having two lobes, and both lobes are connected by isthmus. And isthmus is a type of non-glandular flap that made up of connective tissues, and it is endodermal in origin. Its weight is 25 to 35 gram approximately in a human being, and each lobe of thyroid is made up of connective tissues. Follicles made up of glandular cells are present in the connective tissues. As we can see in the image, follicles are shown. They are glandular cells and they are surrounded by cuboidal epithelial or cuboidal glandular cells. We can see in the image. These follicles are scattered in the loose connective tissue, the stroma. The extracellular space outside the follicle cells is a stroma, in which these follicles are situated or present in the scattered form, and they are surrounded by the cuboidal glandular cells. Parafollicular cells are found in the interstitial tissues in between the follicles and secrete the calcitonin hormone. These parafollicular cells secrete the calcitonin hormones. Production of hormones. Hormones generally produced in the thyroid gland are T3 and T4, that is triiodothyronine or tetraiodothyronine or thyroxine. T3 is produced approximately 20%, while T4 is 80%. T4 secretion of T4 is comparatively more than T3, and T4 hormone is 4 times more effective than the T3 hormone. Sorry, this is the mistake. The T4 is written 2 times. Thyroxine or tetraiodothyronine is a derivative of tyrosine amino acid. Thyroid hormone in the form of thyroglobulin are stored in the amount sufficient to supply the body with its normal requirement of thyroid hormone for 3 months. As we have discussed earlier, that hormones are generally not stored, but this is the only exception, that is thyroglobulin, which is stored in the follicular cells, and it can be stored in the amount which we can use for approximately 3 months. Thyroid gland requires iodine 120 microgram every day for the production of thyroxine. Normally recommended minimum uptake should be of 200 microgram of iodine per day, and if the iodine intake is less than 50 microgram per day, then this may lead to many thyroid related disorders. Functions of thyroxine hormone. First, they play important role in growth, development, and metamorphosis. They stimulate the metamorphosis of the tadpole larva in amphibians. Metamorphosis is the process of conversion of larval form to the adult form, and due to deficiency of the thyroxine hormone, the metamorphosis of the larva to the adult does not occur, and this is known as the neoteny. This also play an important role in regulation of the basal metabolic rate. Basal metabolic rate refers to the minimum amount of energy in the form of calorie which is required by our body to complete its normal function. Means whichever normal function we are doing in our routine life, that requires a particular amount of energy through which we can do those functions, and this is defined in the form of basal metabolic rate. As the BMR or basal metabolic rate increases, our body temperature increases, and this leads to the loss of the weight. Overproduction of heat is known as the calorigenesis. This hormone, that is thyroxine, it stimulates or it enhances the oxidative metabolism of the body cells, due to which the energy production is increased and Thus, this is a type of calorigenic hormone, that is overproduction of heat. Thyroid hormone control the metabolism of carbohydrate, protein, and fat. In fat metabolism, it enhances the activity of both synthesizing and predominantly catabolism of the cholesterol. In carbohydrate, it helps in increase in the blood glucose level. Thus, it is a diabetogenic hormone. And in protein, it supports both catabolism and anabolism of the protein. But at optimum concentration, it dominates the anabolism. Then it helps in the development and maturation of the central nervous system. It stimulates the erythropoiesis, that is the process of the formation of the RBC. Then it helps in the maintenance of water and electrolytes. It also regulates the menstrual cycle. Regulation of the thyroid hormone secretion. The thyroid hormone secretion is generally regulated with the help of the hypothalamus and anterior pituitary gland. The hypothalamus secretes the thyrotrophin releasing hormone. Thyrotrophin releasing hormones reach to the pituitary, through which the TSH is released, that is thyroid stimulating hormone, after which the thyroid starts producing T4 and T3, that is triiodothyronine and thyroxine. And when the overproduction of the triiodothyronine or thyroxine occurs, then they downregulate or gives the negative feedback to the TSH and TRH, after which the production stops. Irregularities of the thyroid gland and its disease. The hyposecretion of the thyroid or hypothyroidism leads to the goiter, simple goiter or endemic goiter. Simple goiter occurs when the deficiency of iodine occurs in the food. Due to this, the thyroid absorbs more and more iodine from the blood, and due to this, the size of the thyroid gland increases. This is a type of a simple goiter. And in endemic goiter occurs mainly in the persons or the people who are living at the mountain slopes, because the iodine which comes along with water that generally flows because they are living on the mountains. Thus, they are suffering from the endemic goiter due to deficiency of the iodine. But the people who are consuming the seafood, they never show the symptoms of goiter because seafood are rich in iodine. Next, due to hyposecretion of thyroid hormone is cretinism. Hypothyroidism during pregnancy causes defective development and maturation of the growing baby, leading to the stunting growth, that is cretinism, mental retardation, low intelligence quotient, that is low IQ, abnormal skin, and deaf mutism. Next is the thyroid myxedema. Thyroid myxedema generally occurs in the adult, and this is also known as the Gall's disease. In humans, it leads to the irregularity of the menstrual cycle. Other than all this, the Hashimoto disease is also caused due to the hyposecretion of the thyroid hormone. This is a type of autoimmune disorder which mainly affects the thyroid gland. Hypersecretion of the thyroid or hyperthyroidism due to cancer of the thyroid gland or due to development of nodules of the thyroid gland, the rate of synthesis and secretion of thyroid hormone is increased to abnormal high level, leading to the condition called hyperthyroidism. And due to hyperthyroidism, disease like exothalamic goiter occur, that is also known as the Graves' disease, Basedow disease, or thyrotoxicosis. This lead to the enlargement of the thyroid gland, protrusion of the eyeballs, and increased BMR and weight loss. Next gland is the parathyroid gland. This is generally situated at the dorsal surface of the thyroid gland. As we can see in the image, thyroid gland are shown, and on the dorsal side of it, parathyroid glands are situated. They are generally in two pairs, that is the superior parathyroid gland and the inferior parathyroid gland. They either remain partially or completely embedded in the thyroid gland. They secrete the parathormone, PTH, or it is also known as the Collips hormone. They are the proteinaceous hormone or polypeptide hormone, and they are generally responsible for the homeostasis of homeostasis in our body, and it regulates the level of calcium and phosphate ions in extracellular fluid. Calcium is playing a very major role in many physiological functions, like it help in the proper permeability of the cell membrane. It help in the muscular activity, just as we know that it help in the actin and myosin contraction and relaxation. Then it help in the nerve impulse conduction through the space which is present between the two axons. Then the heartbeat, blood coagulation, bone formation, and fertilization of the ova. Calcium is the most abundant of all the minerals found in the body, and about 99% of the calcium and phosphorus are present in the bones, and 1% is present in the extracellular fluid. Maintenance of the proper calcium level under homeostasis is a fact, and homeostasis is maintained with a combination of parathormone, thyrocalcitonin, and vitamin D3, that is cholecalciferol. Parathormone promotes the absorption of the calcium from the food in the intestine and its reabsorption from the nephron in the kidneys. It accelerates the elimination of the phosphate in the urine, that is known as phosphaturic action. Thus, calcium level increase in the ECF due to effect of parathormone, and phosphate level decreases. This calcium is then utilized for bone formation under the influence of vitamin D3. Parathormone stimulates the osteoclast cells. Osteoclast cells are those cells which help in the formation of the bone. These cells remove unnecessary parts of the bone by melting, thus changing the asymmetrical bone into symmetrical bone. In per 100 ml of blood, 12 mg of calcium is present, and parathormone also maintains the activity of the muscles by regulating the level of the calcium. Thyrocalcitonin works antagonistically to the parathormone. It reduces the amount of calcium in the blood by increasing the excretion of calcium in the urine and by reducing the deduction of the bone. By hyposecretion of the parathormone, the calcium level in the ECF, that is extracellular fluid, decreases, that is hypocalcemia, while the level of phosphate get increased, that is hyperphosphatemia. Due to deficiency of calcium ion in the blood, muscles and nerves get unnecessarily irritated and start convulsion and cramping. Sometimes voluntary muscles remain contracted for a longer time, and this disorder is known as the tetany. Hypersecretion of PTH leads to the increase in the level of calcium in the ECF and decrease in the level of calcium inside the cells. This leads to the osteoporosis, and the level of phosphate also get reduced, and this is known as hypophosphatemia. Due to excess deposition of the calcium ion in the kidney and gallbladder, stones are formed that are also known as the kidney stones. Adrenal or suprarenal gland. Adrenal gland was at first discovered by the Eustachius, that is the name of a scientist, and it is situated on the head of both the kidneys, and they are known as the right adrenal gland and the left adrenal gland. They are ectomesodermal in origin, and they are of
अब
approximately
कितना देर लगेगा रिया?
सर 67 जितनी स्लाइड्स हैं टोटल.
नहीं, कितना हुआ अभी? अभी कितना हुआ है?
अभी 38 पर है.
ओहो, तो 1 घंटा और लगेगा.
हाँ सर ये एटलीस्ट एड्रिनल तो कंप्लीट कर दूं.
हाँ, एड्रिनल कंप्लीट करके फिर दूसरे दिन करना है ना.
हाँ सर.
जिस दिन उसमें गैप होगा तो करेंगे, है ना. गैप मतलब कि देखेंगे उसको, किसी का
हाँ
नहीं
सर.
रहेगा इस टाइप से, है ना. तो अच्छा रहेगा, क्योंकि बहुत बड़ा हो जाएगा तो अपलोड करना भी दिक्कत होगा, है ना. चल
हाँ
करो.
सर. So the whole gland is surrounded by a fibrous capsule-like layer. Then the gland is generally of two parts. That is, the outer region is known as the adrenal cortex, and inner is known as the adrenal medulla. The cortex portion is of 80 to 90%, and it is mesoderm. It is developed from the mesoderm of the embryo, while the medullary part is only of 10 to 20%, and it is developed from the ectoderm of the embryo. Adrenal cortex. Here we can see the cross section or the microscopic section of the adrenal cortex region, the outermost layer, as I have discussed before too, that it is made up of capsule. Next is the zona glomerulosa. Then inner to it is the zona fasciculata. Next is the zona reticularis. And to the very end is the medulla region. Most of the cells of these parts are fatty, divided into three regions. Outermost is the outer zone, that is the zona glomerulosa, which secretes the mineralocorticoid. Then middle is the zona fasciculata, which secretes glucocorticoid, and inner zona reticularis secretes the sex hormone or gonadocorticoid. Generally, 40 to 50 hormones are synthesized by the adrenal cortex, but out of all these, only 7 to 8 hormones are active, and they are of steroidal nature. They are the basic constituent is the cholesterol, thus they are known as the corticoid as secreted by the adrenal cortex. Mineralocorticoid, the main mineralocorticoid is the aldosterone. Aldosterone acts on the DCT, collecting duct of the uriniferous tubule, by activating the sodium-potassium pump. It stimulates the reabsorption of the sodium ion and water and excretion of the potassium ion and phosphate. Thus, aldosterone helps in the maintenance of electrolyte, body fluid volume, osmotic pressure of the blood, and the blood pressure. Due to hyposecretion of the aldosterone, the sodium and the calcium or chlorine-like ions are not absorbed, and due to this, they are released through the urine, while the potassium ion increases in the blood, due to which the blood pressure gets reduced or hypotension is caused. Then hypersecretion of aldosterone leads to the Conn's disease, which is characterized by the hypertension, nervous and muscular weakness. Next is the glucocorticoid. Glucocorticoid is secreted by the zona fasciculata, and its secretion is controlled by ACTH, that is adrenocorticotropic hormone. This is also known as the life-saving hormone. It affects the metabolic rate, just like in a carbohydrate metabolism. It stimulates the gluconeogenesis, and gluconeogenesis is the process of making glucose from its own breakdown or from breakdown product of lipid or protein. And it also increases the sugar in the blood, that is hyperglycemic hormone. It helps in the fat metabolism, that is it stimulates the lipolysis in adipose tissue. Lipolysis, as we have discussed earlier too, that it is the process through which the hydrolysis of the lipid take place. Then in protein, it stimulates the proteolysis, that is breakdown of protein. This hormone is anti-inflammatory, and this is used in the diseases like edema, arthritis, or rheumatism. Edema is a type of disorder which is also known as the dropsy. This shows the retention of the fluid in the body, which leads to the swelling. And arthritis is the swelling of the one or more joints and it is painful. As glucocorticoid or ACTH, glucocorticoid works as an anti-inflammatory. That is, it do not causes the inflammation. Thus, it can be used in the disease like edema or arthritis. It also acts as an immunosuppressive agent, and due to this, they can be used in the treatment of different allergic reactions, and they also play an important role in transplantation of the organs. It stimulates the RBC production and it maintains the cardiovascular system as well as kidney function. Next is the sex hormone or sex corticoid or gonadocorticoid. They are secreted in the very small amount by zona reticularis. Male hormones are known as androgens and female hormone are known as estrogen. Both these hormones these hormones, that is the androgen and estrogen, both are secreted by male and female, but the one of them that is of opposite sex will be inactivated by the adrenal gland, and they stimulate the behaviors like muscles, external genitalia, or sexual behaviors. Male hormone secreted by adrenal gland is called as the dehydroepiandrosterone, that is DHEA, and in females it is known as progesterone and estrogen, which is secreted in very minute quantity. Next is the adrenal medulla that develops from the neuroectoderm of the embryo. Neuroectoderm is the region of the embryonic ectoderm that develops into brain and spinal cord as well as another nervous tissues of the PNS. And this adrenal medulla develops from that neuroectoderm. It generally consists of the rounded group of relatively large and granular cells, and these cells are known as chromaffin cells or pheochromocytes, and they are connected with preganglionic motor fibers of sympathetic nervous system. Therefore, they are discussed together as sympathoadrenal system, that is sympathetic nervous system as well as adrenal gland, and they both are together known as sympathoadrenal system. Hormones that are secreted by the adrenal medulla are known as the catecholamine. As I have already told the definition of the catecholamine, that is catecholamine is a type of active amine which prepares the body to take the quick decision in the emergency situation. The hormone secreted by adrenal medulla is adrenaline or epinephrine and non-adrenaline or norepinephrine. Adrenaline or epinephrine, that is also known as the emergency hormone. It's mainly adrenal medulla secretes 80% of this hormone epinephrine, and this hormone prepares the body to face unavoidable emergency situations. Functions of adrenaline, that is increase alertness and pupillary dilation. Pupillary dilation means it widens the pupil of an eye. It constricts the erectile pili muscles of the hair, and hairs are raised. Piloerection, and increases the sweating by simulating the sweat gland. Just like if we imagine that we are in the situation in which suppose हमारे पीछे एक लायन आ रहा है और हमें कुछ भी करके उससे बचना है, तो उसकी वजह से हमारी बॉडी में क्या क्या चेंजेस आएंगे, जस्ट लाइक दैट हम लोग वो डिस्कस कर रहे हैं. हमारी अलर्टनेस इंक्रीज हो जाएगी, हमारे प्यूपिल्स जो है वो बड़े हो जाएंगे, और जो भी जैसे गूस बम्स आते हैं वैसे हमारी बॉडी को हो जाएगा, और हार्ट बीट विल इंक्रीज and strength of heart contraction will increase, and due to this the circulation of blood will become faster. Then trachea and bronchi muscles will relax. As a result of this, breathing will increase, and this hormone thus can be used to cure the asthma. Blood flow will increase, which leads to the vasodilation, which occurs due to the vasodilation of the blood vessels. Thus, the blood flow to the brain, heart, liver, and skeletal muscle will enhance. Then blood vessels of skin will constrict, and breakdown of glycogen will occur, due to which the glucose concentration in blood will increase, which will help us to provide the instant energy, as well as breakdown of lipid and protein will also occur for production of the energy. Then spleen will get contracted, and due to the contraction of the spleen, The blood which was stored earlier will be poured in the bloodstream. Then a secretion of saliva as well as the peristaltic movement of the alimentary canal will be stopped. The clotting period of the blood will be reduced. Along with this, this hormone also stimulates the uterus of the female animals to contract. Then adrenaline provides the body with an emergent chemical defense mechanism in stress conditions that threaten the physical integrity and chemical consistency of the body. For example, in any accident, restlessness, any type of fear, mental tension, etc. This hormone gives a very emergent or very quick reaction, and thus gives the alarm reaction, and it is a type of the life-saving hormone which helps us in the emergency situation. The hormone of the adrenal medulla prepare the animal for fear, fight, or flight. Either we would get feared from that, we would fight to that situation, or we will run from there. Thus, fear, fight, or flight. And thus, the hormones secreted by the adrenal medulla are known as the 3F hormone, that is fear, fight, and flight hormone, and the adrenal gland is known as the triple F gland. Next is the noradrenaline.
अब क्या
सर ये लास्ट है, बस मीन्स इतना कंप्लीट कर लेती हूँ.
ठीक है, कर.
Noradrenaline जो है वो means that is secreted of about 20%. It is a vasoconstrictor. Thus, increase in the blood pressure occurs due to constriction of the blood vessels. How the control adrenal secretion is controlled? This is known as the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, because in this hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenal gland are playing role. The hypothalamus will secrete the CRH, that is corticotropin releasing hormone. This corticotropin releasing hormone will go and act to the pituitary, through which the release of the adrenocorticotropic hormone will occur, which will act on the adrenal gland, and this adrenal gland will then secrete the glucocorticoid and different catecholamines, that is epinephrine and norepinephrine. And when the glucocorticoid or catecholamine level will increase, they will work and give the negative feedback, and after which their secretion will be stopped. Adrenocorticotropic hormone of the anterior lobe of pituitary control the hormone secreted by the adrenal gland. ACTH control very little or even does not control the secretion of mineralocorticoid. As we have seen that it only controls the secretion of the glucocorticoid or catecholamine. It will not control the secretion of mineralocorticoid, because the secretion of mineralocorticoid is controlled by renin hormone, which is secreted by the kidney. Pituitary gland do not control the secretion of adrenal medulla hormone. They are controlled by nervous tissues. Then irregular secretion through hyposecretion Addison disease occurs, which is characterized by hypoglycemia, acute weakness, increased susceptibility to stress and fatigue, and due to hypersecretion, Cushing syndrome occur. And in this Cushing syndrome, the amount of sodium and water increases, and due to this, swelling occurs. Thank you.
थैंक यू. तो बहुत लंबा है ना?
हाँ सर, 67 स्लाइड्स है.
अब नेक्स्ट दिन जिस दिन गैप होगा ना